Live everywhere.
Daily Co's Radio on netrootsradio.com presents
David Walton. Kagro in the Morning Show. Now, here's David Waldman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It is Wednesday, October 24th, 2018. Oh, no, wait a minute. Today is, it's the last day of office for Donald Trump, and his term ends today, and if he's president after the stroke of noon today, according to the Constitution, he is illegally president of the United States, and it would be, you'd be within your rights to, throw him into a wood chipper. I guess that's the new politics. I'm going to be practicing some genius from here on in. I've recently discovered that it is genius to just say whatever the hell you feel like saying and decide that policy is going to be whatever you feel like it's going to be, and all of the details will be filled in by your sycophantic supporters later on. So good morning to my sycophantic supporters. Hello, I'm glad you're here. Please put on your making the fake radio, which is actually real radio, and you've always misunderstood what radio actually is. Great again, hats, and we'll go ahead and enjoy our plaudits as geniuses later today in all of the mainstream media. It doesn't matter. LOL, YOLO, nothing matters. Just go ahead and make up whatever you want. There's going to be a tax cut. It's going to be great. And it already happened. You're rich, as a matter of fact. You won the lottery. We all did. And let's go to the lottery offices and demand the rule of law. Give us our winnings as mandated by, as you know, the Constitution. And if you don't think so, why don't you love it? Why do you hate this country? Why do you not love it the way we do? Can't believe you won't stand for the flag. This is easy. I never realized how simple it was to become a genius, and I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do this together. Which we really don't. I'm the only genius in the room. Screw all of you. I am told that also works very well. And this is going to make you guys support me mindlessly from here on in. So this is terrific. I'm going to have a great time doing this. Donald Trump is awake and watching Fox News, but that doesn't matter because you're awake and listening to me, and we won the elections already. I was going to say we were going to win, but we already did it, and I'm frankly outraged at the illegal occupation of the White House by this usurper, and okay, you get the idea. Anyway, I didn't have time to check my spelling. That's right, Karen. I was doing this on my phone as the intro music was running out, and I couldn't get the spelling correct. But as you pointed out to me, thank you very much, Testament it used to be spelled with an A. That's the way it used to be. But now, liberal idiots like you want it to go back to the way it was before I made spelling great again. Can you believe this? It's probably illegal, what you're saying right now. And it's a disgrace. The Democrat Party wants to point out, let's make fun of spelling. And also you will notice, all of the very wise heads out there in punditry are going to agree with what I just said about how bad it is to do bad things, or something like this, and how Democrats are squandering this opportunity to not knuckle under to me, or something like that. I don't know. I'm not even sure how this day is going to go. We'll catch up on a couple of things. Thankfully, Greg Dworkin will be with us. He's going to tell us about what's really happening on Earth and the stupid stuff that libtards like you want to have happen when we're all in mortal danger from ISIS killers coming to murder us all in our beds because something. I will finish that thought later on. I'm pretty sure I'll come up with something really great for you. And if not, screw you. That also is supposed to help me. I'm not really sure how. That part I haven't really figured out yet. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're going to have a tax cut. It's going to be great. everybody's invading, something, yada, yada. And I don't even know. I'm not going to even finish the sentence. It's genius already. And testament to my genius is the fact that I don't even care how you spell things. So let's see. Where did we want to go with this? I don't know. Who cares? There's a couple of stories I actually wanted to get to. We'll have Greg join us in a little bit. Joan, I am not so certain about, not because I don't think she's a wonderful person, but it's probably illegal that she's not going to be here, and she's not feeling all that well today. And again, if it is a HEPA violation, so what? No, it isn't. The Supreme Court says no, and I can say whatever I want, but she's apparently a little bit under the weather today. Don't know if she's going to make it. We will miss her sorely, of course, but better that she gets healthy and comes back. I don't know, it's just a little cold. Don't worry about it. Anyway, that's what we'll be doing with the show today. The other directions we need to take things, well, geez, I don't know. I want to save the tax cut story for a little later. I'll tease you with a couple other things. Maybe we'll get to the mounting evidence that Bloomberg News apparently, let's say, got the Chinese hacking story wrong. I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm going to conclude this thing, but at the very least, mounting calls for either a retraction or correction of some kind. Although I do note that they are chiefly being driven by enormous worldwide corporations with lots and lots of money to lose if the story is accurate. And I suppose if I had that problem and a mountain of cash, I would spend the time in between then and now saying that the story was wrong and demanding a retraction too. But, anyway, it's out there. Columbia Journalism Review with a story today entitled Pressure Increases on Bloomberg to Verify Its China Hack Story. So that at least puts you, you're up to date on who's demanding what of Bloomberg. And I don't know. I don't feel like I'm carrying any particular water for Bloomberg, either the person or the news service. I don't care one way or the other. It sounded like a good story to me, and I think it's entirely possible. But I guess I don't really care one way or the other. Whether I hope the story is not true, I guess, because it was pretty damn scary. I think by the time we clear this thing up and clarify whether or not it's true, it will have become true. Maybe that's not a bad play for Bloomberg, to just sit there and sit on its hands, drag its heels, and any other appendages that can be manipulated in any fashion to give them more time to just drive things to the point where they can be corrected after the fact, which is in fact actually what's happening with the tax story in a way. We'll see whether we get to that during the next segment or two. But if not, I promise you I'll get you there, because it's a major driver of what's been going on with me this morning. I've lost it. All right. Greg Dworkin hopefully has found it. He's here. Good morning, Greg. How you doing?
I found it, but I don't know what to do with it.
It doesn't matter, as you know. LOL yellow.
That's what I'll do.
Sure. In fact, you already did. And in fact, you're a billionaire.
That's great. There's some breaking news this morning that it is potentially possible that some sort of nefarious device was found on the Clinton property.
Sure, why not?
Near Bedford Hills. This comes on the heels of an explosive device that was found on George Soros' property yesterday, so that's why it's especially intriguing. More to come on that. I just saw some tweets go by.
Okay.
But it's becoming an increasingly tense and divisive time as the election comes near. We're less than 2 weeks away. And I think, the two big stories to talk about are early votes in the election on the one hand, and the Trump lies about the Caravan and everything else on the other hand, including healthcare. So which one do you want to do first?
Why don't we do both sides?
At the same time?
Yeah, I think so. Can I demand that?
No, you can demand it, but I can't do that. So which one do you want to do?
The first one. Here we go with both. Thank you.
Okay, here we go with you, because I just said the opposite, and Who are you to say that it's not true? So, all right, I'll tell you what. Let's do.
See, I'm getting my way retroactively. I'm bullying you into it.
The story I had from the Pundit Roundup today was Trump lies are increasing exponentially.
No, they're not. Yes.
Tina Nagun in Vanity Fair.
Win. I think they actually. I've learned that being around a lot of people with the same surname. Win. Like,
Win.
What could be
Tina
better?
Win. Thank you. Looks Vietnamese to me.
Yeah.
Tina Win. Vanity Fair. Trump's lies are becoming exponentially more brazen. Holding court on the White House lawn Monday, Trump revealed new depths of contempt for objective reality and offered a masterclass in how the most obvious lies destroy the very notion of truth itself, which is, of course, what Gary Kasparov has been telling us. That's the whole idea. Make it so you can't trust anything. But that's really only true for his own base, as we'll get to.
Right. We will get to it.
It isn't true for everybody else. But Trump, at the very least, appeared to walk back an earlier fairy tale from Sunday when he basically asserted he was studying very deeply around the clock a major tax cut for middle-income people.
Yes.
That would come in something around the 1st of November, maybe a little before that. The one problem, Congress isn't in session.
Right.
And media outlets quickly reported that nobody in Washington had any idea what Trump was talking about.
I do.
Okay. Noah Shachtman reports in the Daily Beast, Trump's own team knows his Caravan claims are BS.
Yes. Right.
Asked for evidence supporting the president's claims. The senior administration official told reporters to go stuff it.
Yeah.
To ask Mexican authorities.
Right.
And then when confronted in the White House, Trump himself said, well, I really don't have any evidence.
But I don't need any because something. Corroborating evidence, that's why. Remember when we were into that?
Daniel Dale says in the Toronto Star, Donald Trump's strategy as midterms approach lies in fear-mongering. Daniel Dale does a better job than anybody keeping track of all these.
Except me.
But
I don't know. Maybe.
Some of the interesting stuff he points out. Democrats will kick seniors off their health insurance. Democrats will end insurance protections for people with health problems. Democrats will destroy Social Security retirement system. Democrats will give illegal immigrants free cars.
Yes.
Democrats will abolish America's borders. And they're behind the latest migrant caravan from Latin America. The caravan includes people from the Middle East. False.
True about Mars, though.
Yeah. Well, the caravan's from Mars?
There are people from Mars in it.
Well, that may be. I mean, we got to consult somebody who knows something about this. Mike Bolton, who is information officer from Mars, apparently.
Yes, absolutely.
Who, by the way, is going to pull us out of the arms deal.
You don't know that they're not.
The other thing about this Bloomberg story you mentioned, the fake implanting of chips into various manufactured devices, which may or may not be true, was this to gin up fear against China as opposed to Russia? And was this planted by administration officials?
Yes,
I have no evidence for
no.
that. Since when does evidence have anything to do with anything?
I don't know. I have considered that, although I was thinking yesterday, when are they going to start accusing Chinese officials of doing things? Like I was waiting for the follow-up, although there's still a little bit less than a week to the election, so maybe Monday.
Maybe. Well,
I'm waiting on that one. I'm very curious because there's an awful lot of a complaint about it, and I mean, I guess if you're genuine in it, I could see why you'd be upset about it. It seemed like a nice enough story to me.
Okay, so the New York Times is now covering this. Shane Goldmacher, New York Times chief Metro political guy, used to be a Politico, writes, an explosive device was found on Wednesday morning by a technician who screens mail for Bill and Hillary Clinton. By the way, folks, that's why they screen their mail.
Yeah.
It was similar to the device found at George Soros' home. Oh. And this story is in the Times.
All right. Can you send me that one?
I will. I'll pick that up right now. And here it comes over Skype.
Okay. Terrific. I mean, except for the explosive device.
Yeah, except for the whole story. As if rhetoric doesn't matter, as if what you say can't hurt you.
That's okay. In a couple of days, in fact, under my new plan, we can demand that the New York Times retract this story. Right. It didn't happen. Bloomberg.
The thing is, how do you play it to make it in favor of Trump, like they do with the Caravan and everything else?
The immigrants did it.
The immigrants did it. Yeah. Well,
they mailed it ahead of time, and fools that they are, the Postal Service carried it there. We should abolish that.
So, the big thing is the Caravan. It's interesting because there are some suggestions, early suggestions, though they may be.
Yes.
For example, this one is from Bloomberg. Democrats eye secret midterm weapon. Trump, balance of power. In other words, all this ginning up about the caravans and stuff like that may actually energize Latino vote to actually come out and vote.
I hope so.
And that would not necessarily help him. And that ties in with this other article, which I happened to come across from USA Today. USA Today Suffolk poll, there's a Kavanaugh effect. It boosts Democrats more than the GOP in midterms.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, because nothing's true. What this says is more than 6 in 10 likely voters. That's a lot, more than 60%.
Yeah.
Of midterm voters, likely voters, say Kavanaugh's confirmation after facing allegations of sexual assault makes them more likely to vote for one party or the other. And I like the idea that they include Kavanaugh's confirmation after allegations of sexual assault, because that's going to follow him forever. Despite the conventional wisdom that the fight energized the GOP base, these voters are more likely to say it has spurred them to support Democrats. And the thing that pleases me most about that is the gender gap. By 12 points, women said it made them more likely to vote Democratic. Fine. By 3 percentage points, men said it made them more likely to vote Democratic. For a change, men aren't being stupid.
Aha. Good for them. Not good for them.
I don't know. It's, they got to vote. They can't just talk.
I am just checking.
What?
I didn't hear thunderous applause after I said good for them, so I figured maybe it was bad for them. So I'll just say that.
You're the one with the enthusiasm button. What are you picking on me?
That is true. I don't, and that's not proof that I have one, by the way.
No, but you're supposed to do your own applause buttons, too.
Oh, I don't have applause on this one.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to add that so that when things like this come out and you say something you think you really, ought to get applause for, you can just hit that button.
Right.
And not lay it all on me, buddy.
Okay. I have this. Yeah. I got that. That's less than enthusiastic.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, we got that one too. All right.
Anyway, Kavanaugh's confirmation was seen by some as a test of whether things had changed in 1991. The answer is no. Hard feelings remain. 45% say his addition to the court is a bad thing, higher than the 35% who say it's a good thing. That 35% is the Trump base, and 35% is not a particularly high number. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's, basically the background for a lot of what's going on here. And it is interesting that the first day was, oh my gosh, Trump said Caravan. Everybody, Caravan. So they sent a whole bunch of people down there, and it turns out it's nothing like what Trump said, including, the possibility of Middle Eastern shadowy people somehow, intercalating themselves within this caravan. They must have a lot of 4-year-olds who are dressing as if they speak Spanish. The caravan is thousands of miles away in southern Mexico, and there's no way they're going to get here if they walk.
They're the killer bees.
December.
Right. Okay. Well, they don't care when they get here. It's all illegal or something. And this reminds me very much of the killer bee threat. I've been still waiting for the killer bees to cross into the United States. They're stuck at the border because of the wall.
My favorite is Ebola, right? Ebola is going to kill us all until after the election, in which case that doesn't matter. Who cares?
Right. Absolutely. And Chris Christie wrote it to Supreme Power.
And don't forget, Paula Page was putting nurses in quarantine back in Maine because somehow or other they were do-gooders and had to be isolated from the rest of the people, just in case that do-gooding attitude, somehow spread. So the point is, with the modern news cycle, which is about 4 hours, it'll be interesting to see, like everything else, the GOP tax cuts, which didn't work for juicing the public, Kavanaugh, which, according to this poll, didn't work the way they intended, or the Caravan thing, which, according to Bloomberg, may not work the way they intended. We'll see how all of this hidden genius, that's Jared. What's
right? I don't know. He's just a staggering genius of all sorts.
This may not turn out the way that they think. And in fact, the impression one gets the more one sees him on TV, that he's kind of losing it and is flaky and doesn't even remember the name of the people who he's working with, may actually carry some weight in the end by 2 weeks from now. So we shall see. Okay. But that's a discussion we'll have after the break. We'll go into a little bit of the early voting numbers. I will tell you this, though. Everybody's got it turned up to 11. We have a situation where the Democrats are absolutely positively turning out, but so are Republicans. So we'll see.
Well, that's ordinarily the way it's supposed to be. Everybody comes out and votes. We haven't seen that for a while.
Right. And again, a reminder, just as a generic, there's a whole bunch of close elections, and if they go more than one way, more than their share go one way, that is to say, in these close elections, to one side, that's where you get a wave. The wave doesn't mean that we're crushing everybody by 15 points. And people looking for that and being disappointed that they don't see that, that's not how it works.
No. It's supposed to work that way.
Lots and lots and lots and lots of close knuckle-biting, nail-biting, knuckle-dragging close races that then break our way eventually, you know.
What else can you do with your knuckles?
Yeah, and then you have no hands left by the time you're finished, but you win.
Right.
And you know, that's what we're looking at, not crushing everywhere. You crush everywhere when the other side doesn't show up. Trump's numbers drop below 40 when Republicans say, I don't like what he's doing. Can't expect his numbers to be below 40 if Republicans are rallying around the Republican Party just prior to an election.
They're not.
That's what we're seeing in terms of his approval numbers. It's not like he's all of a sudden better or the people that hate him have stopped hating him. You know, so it'll be quite interesting to see what his numbers are like 2 weeks after the election, especially if they lose.
That's true. All right. Well, I think it's worth letting everybody know that they're importing not only Russians but Martians again to vote, and it's outrageous. And you should think about bulldozing every polling station you find, and it's illegal not to. I'm trying here. It's getting difficult. Okay. Should you not do this?
Well, you know, just thinking about what to talk about next.
You should bulldoze both sides of the polling place. I'm not saying you should leave one or the other half standing.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a both sides thing.
Right.
The other part of the non-existent tax cut that's interesting.
It exists.
It doesn't exist, and Congress has no intention of doing anything about it, and certainly not before the election. It was just made up stuff.
But it does.
But the interesting part was watching officials scramble to try to accommodate whatever nonsense Trump just happened to say.
Yes. Genius strategy.
Yeah. There's a piece in the Washington Post. In the service of whim, officials scrambled to make Trump's false assertions real. And, of course, I'll send that to you because that was not in the list, but just came across it.
Lies and make them true somehow.
Right. And so, you know, that's what happens in dictatorships, and that's what happens with a king, where all the courtiers have to sit around, you know, and, oh, my gosh, he said this. Now we have to go make this happen.
Emperor's new clothes, etc.
The mystery tax cut, the piece says, is only the latest instance of the federal government scrambling to reverse engineer policies to meet Trump's sudden public promises or to search for evidence buttressing his conspiracy theories and falsehoods. The Pentagon leaped into action to both hold a military parade and launch a space force. The Commerce Department moved to create a plan for auto tariffs after Trump angrily threatened to impose them. And just this week, Pence, the Department of Homeland Security, and White House all rushed to try to back up Trump's unsupported claim that unknown Middle Easterners were part of a migrant caravan in Central America, only to have the president admit Tuesday there was no proof.
Right, but there is.
But that undercuts everybody who's trying to rush to help him.
That doesn't matter.
To him.
It's genius.
It's all about him.
Yeah, well, that's the genius of it.
You know, he's the boy king sitting on the throne, you know, with the big all-day sucker in his hand. Saying, okay, now I want hot dogs. Okay, I don't want hot dogs. I want burgers. Okay, I don't want that. I want lasagna. You know, and everybody's scrambling to keep up. And the rest of us are scratching their heads and saying, why are you doing this?
We don't know.
And the answer's clear. Power.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm
glad there's an answer.
I mean, it's not like they don't know. That's the weird part. And that, of course, is why so many people like Max Boot and Tom Nichols and Bill Kristol basically left the party. Steve Schmidt, Ben Bernanke. Ben Bernanke's no longer a Republican. He said, "I can't deal with it. The party has left me."
Okay.
I haven't left the party. The party's left me.
I'm sorry, you're not a genius.
They're watching people scramble to try to accommodate this jerk and scratching their heads and saying, why are they doing that? Which, of course, the rest of us are too.
It says in every newspaper that it is genius. And is it not a special kind of genius to imagine a tax cut and then wake up to find one?
So right after the break, which is coming up, I'm going to give you my think piece of the day, which is by Bill Scher, writing in Politico magazine.
Oh.
The 15 races that will determine how Democrats approach 2020. It's actually a very interesting piece.
Okay.
The winners of these midterms will determine not just control of the House and Senate, but how the party tries to oust Trump.
All right.
Right? I mean, if the single-payer people win, that's one way. If they lose, it's another. All right? If the impeached Trump people win, that's one way. And if they lose, then there's another approach. If the centrists, like Sinema and Bredesen in Texas, are the winners, then that's another way. So there's several important races here, because these folks have actually staked out where they stand, and so you get a sense of whether the voters want it or don't want it, and whether that will be used as an argument by everybody else to say, okay, that guy won, look at Doug Jones, we got to do it his way.
Well, that's a normal way of doing things. I don't know why
it is, and I like the normalcy. That's the reason that I was so attracted to this piece.
Well, that's crazy. Don't do it.
Normal? That's crazy.
It doesn't work anymore. I don't know what's wrong with you guys.
But if they win, it does.
But also not. I don't know. Again, there's no evidence for what I'm saying, but you know what that means. It's genius.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Well, the break's coming up without evidence, so we can talk about it a little bit more after that.
Here's some evidence of it. Can you hear the evidence, by the way?
I can. The music sounds great.
All right. Well, that's good. You know what? I think that there was just a hiccup in the feed yesterday, and that just threw everything off along with it. Nothing changed.
Yeah. How do you explain that my microphone wasn't working?
I did already, and it was genius. And we'll be back for more of the same. In fact, we're already back. This isn't even a break. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think I can defeat justice on this one, so we'll see. Hi, everybody. It's me, David. Let's change things up from the old fundraising pitch for just a minute and talk instead about how you can be a part of our show. If you've got a smartphone or any other electronic recording device, why not sit down and record a segment for us? Read us an important article and give us your take. Or read one of your own original essays, or even just give us your commentary on something you'd like to share that's important to you. Then send the file to me at kagrox@gmail.com, and I'll try and work it into the show. Short segments, a few minutes in length, are easiest to fit in. And of course, I can't always guarantee that I'll be able to play everything, but if you've ever shouted at your radio or TV about something you wish was being covered, here's your chance to change that. Make the show your own. Send your submissions to me at kagrox@gmail.com. Welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show, where nothing matters, here on Netroots Radio, here on WABC Radio. I am a millionaire, and so are you, Greg. Where should we pick up from here? Where do we leave off? It doesn't matter.
The Powerball, Mega Millions, something.
Right, we did that. We won it.
Oh, good.
You won it.
We're splitting it evenly? Like, I get 25 cents and you get
I am splitting it evenly, the whole thing for me and the whole thing for you, both sides.
Yeah. I like the old Abbott and Costello routine way of doing it. There's one for you, one for me. There's two for you, one, two for me. Three for you, one,
That's
two,
Bugs
three
Bunny
for
in
me.
my head, but okay.
It works.
Maybe it was originally this. All right, we should do it, and then we should do it again the opposite way, and then we both have that money.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how it works.
So let's talk election here. There's a lot of early voting going on, and what does it mean? And the answer is we don't know.
We know.
We don't know because we know that turnout is heavy.
Yes.
Which is very cool. If you like democracy, you'll really like people voting. That's a good thing.
Are heavy.
Both Democrats and Republicans are voting. Some of the states, like Nevada, actually have really good statistics where you could look at, and they have people like John Ralston you can use to interpret. Or Florida, which has decent statistics, and you have Steve Shale or Armando to help interpret it. Some of the other states, you have no idea what they're showing because you don't really know what the context is. The usual context writ large is that VBM, vote by mail, comes in first, generally favors retirees, military, older people, and heavily skews Republican.
Yes.
Same day in-person voting, which can be early, generally favors Democrats, but even there, the olds vote first and the youngs vote later. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the early voting stats will skew Republican, and the question is, does that hold? Does that mean that people who are ginned up that were always going to vote just vote early? Therefore, and the word people use is cannibalize the vote that you would normally see on Election Day. I was going to vote anyway. I just vote 2 weeks early. Or is it bringing new voters in that otherwise wouldn't have voted? And for that, you look at, did I ever vote before? Did I vote usually? Am I under 35? These are the people that generally don't vote in midterms. So yes. You wind up looking at that. And then, of course, the big wild card is, generally speaking, the states will report early voting as Democratic registered, Republican registered, and either nonpartisan or no declared vote. And then what happens is you have these others, and you don't know how they're going to vote. You only know that they've enlisted. I see Armando sending us a note that there's a bomb that was also sent to Obama. So I think something's up here, folks.
I think it is, and it is time to privatize the mail service until we can figure out what's going on here.
Right. Trump's probably looking at this and saying, how can I make money off of this?
Yes, probably. Alex Jones, looking at it now, how can I claim it's a false flag?
Right,
so
exactly.
We got that as well.
So that's all scary, by the way, and it would be especially scary if any of them actually worked. But let's see what happens, and let's see if the FBI can get to the bottom of this in a reasonable period of time. So hope there's no more. They do seem to be sending these bombs to Democrats. I'll just note that, and hopefully, that's the end of it. But we find out exactly what's going on there. That is very strange and not good. So getting back to the early vote here, John Ralston keeps very, very close track. And the deal in Nevada is better understood than a lot of other places. The big county is Clark. That's where Las Vegas is. And then where Reno is, Washoe is the second biggest county. Clark is heavily Democratic, and Washoe is a swing area. Okay. And then the rurals, which is heavily Republican. The rurals are turning out. They're really juiced up, and they're turning out at a very good rate. And the vote by mail stuff is coming in, so all of that is Republican.
Right, they're voting by mail.
Generally
right to the
speaking,
Obamas.
What happens is Republicans lead Democrats on Election Day, on E-Day. So for Democrats to win in Nevada, what they have to do is they have to run up the score and build a firewall. Those are Ralston's descriptions of it. Run it up in Clark County and Washoe if they can, so that when voting day comes around, they have a 10% lead. And if that's the case, they're going to win. And if they can't run it up that high, then it's not clear whether they win. But what makes it especially difficult this year is they've never had this high turnout in a midterm. They don't know what that means. People who are registered as Republicans might be suburban women who are voting Democrat. You don't know that. Again, you don't know the cannibalization piece as to whether or not that impacts Election Day. And you don't know how the nonpartisans are going to vote. So, and right now, we don't know whether these are new voters or registered regular voters. So what we do know is that as of now, the Democrats are voting about 3 points above their actual registration, and they have a registration lead over the Republicans. Big turnout in Clark County yesterday, 25,000, and they almost never get 20,000 or more during a midterm, and they've been getting that every single day. So that's good news. But the rural and vote-by-mail turnout has been high enough so that the firewall isn't yet built. It's about 10,000 people, but it's not yet at that 10% that you really need. So that's what's going on in Nevada. Close race, and we'll have to see whether the rurals can sustain that kind of turnout. The Clark County and big areas can. And by the way, overall, in that swing district, Democrats are winning Washoe by a little bit. So that's also a good sign, but none of it is, dispositive and determinative and all that sort of stuff. It's telling us it's going to be a close race, and it's telling us the turnout's going to be big, and that's about all you can really say about it with any certainty. And that's Nevada.
That is, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
They are in a nutshell.
Okay. Now, here's a fun thing if you want to play with it, but don't get too carried away with it. Target Early by Target Smart gives us every single state with early votes.
Yeah.
And they list, is it Democrat? Is it Republican? What's the breakdown? And how is that going? And I happen to have the Nevada early and absentee vote cast opened up. So right now, 18 to 29-year-olds are about 5% of the total, but they're 18% of registered voters. 65 and over, they're only 23% of registered voters, but 47% of those who are returning their ballots.
Okay.
But again, that's expected because we're getting the absentee ballots, and that heavily favors olders. Everybody else is actually a lot more likely to be Democratic. So on the whole, their modeling suggests that the Democrats have about a 7,500 vote lead, whereas it's probably a little bit higher than that. But it gives you an idea of who is voting. 83% white, for example, 8% Hispanic, and there are 14% of registered voters in Nevada. So, you get an idea of who's showing and who isn't showing, and over time, because this is a 2-week period, we'll get a better idea of really who's showing. And in a lot of these states, you're going to get a good chunk of votes that happen even before Election Day. So it's nice to bank them and then go from there.
We should do that.
We should.
Yeah, I'm curious whether the bomber has voted.
And how many states?
I guess he could go anywhere he wants. He's carrying a bomb.
Yeah, go ahead, vote.
I demand to be let in.
Florida.
This
Let's talk about Florida. We have a little bit of Florida statistics.
Okay.
And as we enter early voting, Steve Shale writes, I always look to Steve. If Armando's not around, I always look to Steve about analyzing this stuff.
Okay.
As we enter early voting, there have been 1,260,846 total ballots returned. Republican ballots, 43.2%. Democratic ballots, 39.3%. NPA, that's the no affiliation ballots, 17%. It's 18% in Nevada. It's 17% in Florida. And that group, I think, is going to really hold the key as to who wins and who doesn't win, because we don't know how they're voting. So the total GOP advantage, Democrat versus Republican, is about 3.9%, but in previous years it was like 11%. So that's good. I mean, we're doing better. You expect GOP to lead early, and then we expect to catch up for the in-person vote, and then the day of voting, often will skew a little bit leaning GOP.
Okay. Well, we seek to change all of this.
Right. So that's the deal there. And again, we don't know a whole lot more than that. I am, looking at some of the other early voting states, but not only do we not, Texas, huge turnout. And in Texas, it does appear that a lot of younger voters are in fact turning out, which is kind of interesting, but it's the first day and it's way too early to tell. But they're setting records there. And there was a recent internal poll that had Beto only down by 4 points. So anything is possible.
I like anything.
Even though it's that would be a huge, enormous size of Texas upset.
Yes. Officially here, he has already won. That is the line we're taking. This is his second term.
Won. No moral victories, though. This is an important election, so you got to do what you got to do.
No, this is like physically his second term. He's won, and he's running for re-election. As far as we're concerned. Yeah.
For what?
The thing he wants now.
Is this president? Or are we talking about the Senate here?
Yes. I don't know. What should he want? Yeah, good question. He's on the Supreme Court after his second term as president.
And president. I like that. Mm-hmm. He can do both at the same time.
Right.
All right. Taft. So let's look at Texas, for example. Right now, with the modeling that Target Early is doing, the Democrats have about, let's see, they're trailing, which is not surprising. But what I'm trying to look at here is the age group. And right now, 18 to 29s are 3% of the vote. 30 to 39s are 3% of the vote. And 65 plus is 81% of the vote. So the fact that the Republicans are leading in the known early voting in Texas should not be a surprise. Again, the older voters tend to vote first. So it's one of the many, many reasons you can't look at the early vote and say, okay, now I know what's going to happen.
You can't.
You can't because you don't know. So, like we did that. What we do know is that all over Texas, people are reporting record numbers of people voting compared to other midterms.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. And, don't be discouraged is what I'm trying to say about what you see from the early vote. It doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you if Democrats are up that that's good. It doesn't tell you if Republicans are up that that's bad. You really have to wait.
And remember that some of the Republicans who turn out to vote early are people who left the party who
yes.
are pundits. So the pundit vote, to the extent
all three of them.
out.
That you don't know where that's going to go.
So you're leading by 3.
Of course, a lot of them may live in D.C. where you can't vote. So.
Right. Or they are lying.
Anyway, so that's the background to a lot of this. But look, if you have Clinton, if you have Obama, and if you have George Soros with explosive devices,
yes,
we officially have a domestic terrorist.
Unless it's someone, again, from the Caravan. They're not domestic.
Or a Republican, in which
right.
case,
also
then
them too.
Then they're excused. Then we'll find some excuse for it. So that's a story that I think we really need to follow very closely for the rest of the day. You know what? I think it's a little bit more important than the Caravan story.
You would think.
You would think. Anyway, that's what I'm going to leave you with. I'm going to go off to work and see what happens there. But in the meantime, things are going all right. But that's the story. Armando, if you're listening, did I get anything wrong about Florida? Let us know with notes to David so he could read them on the air if you can't come.
Sure. All right. Well, we'll do. I'm sure there was something wrong about it.
I think it's a little bit too early to really know much of anything in Florida. But, again, it looks like turnout's going to be robust there and everywhere else. So we'll have to see what happens.
Okay. Robust.
Okay. Take care. And
right,
I will talk to you tomorrow.
Yes. Terrific. Armando says, I'm sure you got everything wrong.
I'm laughing. Armando sent us a note saying, I'm sure you got everything wrong.
Yes. And then he sent LOL.
Means, yeah.
So he's laughing
the thing
too.
Is, he wasn't even listening.
Both sides. Right. Yeah, he just admitted the same. I wasn't listening to that part, but he's pretty sure you're wrong.
That's okay. Right. He never listens.
All right. Very good.
But if he can come on and give us a little Florida exposure, that would be wonderful sometime this week or maybe early next week as more numbers comes in. Take care, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Very good. Thanks, Greg. Yes, we would accept a call, of course, from you, Armando, if there's anything to add. Not certain whether we will have the good luck to hear from Joan today, and not a bad day to skip out too. I mean, if you're feeling a little bit under the weather, maybe you want to stay home, have a little tea or something, whatever. What do you have to make yourself feel better about bombs being sent to a bunch of people, and then major media writing stories about how they are genius? That is a good question. Let's see. Speaking of which, I did see this, a couple of interesting tweets go by. Armando is going to call. So I was wrong about whether or not he was going to call. How about that? Good morning, Armando. How are you?
Oh, was I not supposed to call?
No, I was saying I'm not certain whether you were going to be available or not. And I'm wrong about that.
Here.
But it doesn't matter, as you know, because my new approach to everything is everything's going to be a meme in which I'm a genius and everything horrible is attributable to Republicans specifically and on purpose. They're actually doing these things. These basically, if you have a Republican neighbor, that's the guy who sent the bomb. You can be sure of it. I think that's scientifically proven. I have a natural instinct for science.
I'm not Sherlock Holmes, but I got a feeling that the perpetrator is from Westchester County. That's just my thought.
They are. Well, 2 of the 3 bombs, I guess, were there. Now, the Obamas got one. Was it at their home in Washington?
I don't know. I haven't followed where it happened. It would either obviously be Chicago or Washington.
I guess so.
But so I would think Washington. But I don't think where the Obamas live is a secret.
It is not.
I've never published it, and I've never looked it up. I know they live near Jared Kushner for some reason, because everybody lives near Jared Kushner, I think.
Right, there's only one place to live if you're a bazillionaire.
Yeah, apparently it's the nicest part of Georgetown or whatever.
Yeah, I think the Obamas live in sort of in this more central area. It's not officially Georgetown. I think they may live in what still counts as Kalorama area, but it's, I don't know. There's this one area not connected by any roads, but rather connected by like untouched parkland inside the heart of D.C.
Wow.
And the roads
nice.
the roads don't connect. You can't drive through those neighborhoods. They're just a bunch of cul-de-sacs that don't connect to anything, so that anybody who's from the outside is easily spottable by police and or private security. But so they're adjacent to one another, these neighborhoods, but they don't connect to one another. It's bizarre.
Yeah. Interestingly, if you different for the area of Westchester that the Clintons and George Soros live. They live in the northern part of Westchester, which is, more pastoral.
Northchester.
Northwestchester. Chappaqua.
Yes.
And Katona. I believe Soros lives in Katona.
That's what I heard.
First, it's beautiful up there. And second, there's not cul-de-sacs and stuff like that. That's not what it's like. It's not urban at all. It doesn't have any type of, you drive in here, you can't drive out type of things. It has the country road and then the big house off the country road, and off you go.
Yeah.
So
long driveways and fences and woods.
You know the drill. Yeah. So it's if you're from New Jersey, think Morris County.
Huh. All right.
To me, maybe you think of a different area, David. But
it depends where you are in the, like most counties. In certain, if you're in, let's say, Mendham, yes. East Hanover, not so much.
And if you're in Connecticut, it's all of Fairfield.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is like that. So it's very beautiful. It's very nice. It's not as closed. It's not secure. They have the rail fences and stuff like that, but it's not that hard to get into people's houses.
Yeah, I guess not their mailboxes anyway. I don't know that they thought about security. I'm sure Secret Service did and does, but
it's a little more vulnerable than, I guess, that the area that you're talking about, where DC is probably more used to dealing with security issues like that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but I'm going to be cynical about this and savvy.
Genius.
And what I wanted to talk about is how these two stories, there's two stories I think that are important this morning. This right-wing terrorism that's going on, spurred by the comments and attitudes of the President of the United States, from lock her up to, they're horrible, awful people and, beat up journalists. It's all of a piece. It's all in a continuum. The continuum leads to violence. Not protest, violence. If they were going to protest people and yell at them in restaurants, that's part of the deal, if you want to do that. But when you shoot people, when you attack people, when violence is pretty easy, bright line, it seems to me, in the civility debate.
You would think, but I don't know. Apparently that's not the case among, oddly, both sides. Tucker Carlson, I see this morning, I guess brought that up and said it's horrible to confront people in restaurants, and the answer from his guest was, what about the bomb at then just George Soros' house? And Tucker Carlson actually laughs and says, come on, that's not even, come on, please, you're making things up. And then you'd think that would be, okay, well, that's just the Tucker Carlson act. No. And then, of course, Chuck Schumer tweets out yesterday, look at this, both sides. Somebody vandalized Kevin McCarthy's office versus bombed George Soros's.
I don't know what Chuck Schumer's up to. It's he was never Mr. political mastermind. I mean,
Well,
but for the last
genius.
6 months, he has been so terrible at politics that it's like, I don't know what happened to him. He wasn't this bad before. When he destroyed Esteban Solars in Brooklyn, when they did the redistricting 20 years ago, you would remember this, David. Back in the day, there was a congressman named Stephen Solars.
Yes, okay.
Who was an up-and-comer, and Schumer was his big Brooklyn rival, and they were fighting, and there had to be redistricting after 2000, and Schumer just completely elbowed Solars out in the redistricting. Solars had to run in a new majority Latino district, which Nydia Velázquez now represents. And, of course, the joke was he became Esteban Solars. Well, he was good at politics back then. Maybe that was just infighting politics. Maybe he never really was good at politics.
Oh, maybe.
But he's pretty bad now, and I don't know. You know, Harry Reid was good at what he was doing. And, we always thought, and I think you would agree with me, that while Reid had some blind spots,
yes, by
and large, he was a pretty effective leader in the Senate.
Yes, he was.
And even when he was doing politics and talking, he would throw out the bomb to get the big conversation started. He wasn't afraid to be, pilloried. Schumer just cowers, Harry Reid would never have gone on Morning Joe all the time the way Schumer does.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what's wrong with him. He doesn't have the fighting spirit. I don't know what happened. Maybe he needs that to get the votes from red state Democrats and senators. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not sure they're happy with him either. And by the way, speaking of all the you were right, actually. I mean, in Harry Reid, that every once in a while he would toss a bomb and everybody would turn to that. And what was amazing was I don't recall ever any of the pundits discussing how genius that was. That he could change the conversation.
The opposite, of course. Harry Reid is ruining the Democratic Party because Democrats are always in disarray and they're always screwing up.
Liars.
They're always blowing it. They're always terrible. Right. That's why political reporting in this country is just terrible. And you have been making the genius joke all day, and it's a good one because part two of something that happened today, besides the bombing, which is leading CNN at any rate. MSNBC seems to live in a different world these days. I don't know what the heck is going on at MSNBC, but at any rate,
I have never known.
The other big story I thought was Trump did a tweet where he said Republicans will protect you. Will preserve your protection. I don't know what he said exactly, but he's going to Republicans will preserve pre-existing protections. Democrats will take them away.
Yeah.
It's a big lie, obviously. It's the exact opposite. And the reason I think it was dumb of Trump to do that is, how the media basically just decides that whatever Trump talks about is what's news. That's why this Caravan story
allegedly
has become.
Yeah.
Take a step back on this Caravan story for a second. It's not the first Caravan. Okay. It's not the first type of people doing something. I don't know who's behind it. I don't care.
Right. Nobody's behind it. People are leaving.
Yeah, somebody organized. I mean,
somebody told somebody else I'm leaving, and
I don't know who organized it, but somebody organized. Probably Honduras. By the way, Honduras is a hellhole ruled by a despotic, corrupt, basically dictator who violated the Honduran constitution to run for re-election in violation of the Constitution of Honduras, which says, by the way, that if you actually try to run for re-election as president, your citizenship can be revoked.
Oh.
But, it's another corrupt, authoritarian dictator who now, says, this is all leftist because he's basically a right-wing authoritarian. That's what's happening in Honduras, and that's why people are leaving, by the way. That's why they're scared to stay there. But the story isn't a story. It's just nonsense. It's only a story because the New York Times, which ran 2 above-the-fold, big-picture front-page stories on the Caravan.
2 days
back
in a
to
row.
back.
Right. I have seen this. Lots of people complaining about it.
What are you talking about? If 3,000 people make it and ask for asylum and are processed, this is a nothing story. This isn't even a story. I don't think it should be covered at all, to be honest with you. Unless you're covering what's happening in Honduras that might be causing this. That's the only story here. There's a right-wing authoritarian dictator type who's driving people out of his country. If you care about Honduras, the United States doesn't care about Honduras. New York Times doesn't care about Honduras. Cable news doesn't care about Honduras. They never cared. They don't pretend to care now. So what is this? This Caravan story is completely made up as a newsworthy event. But Donald Trump tells them what to do. Donald Trump runs the New York Times.
Yeah.
You're a sap if you subscribe to the New York Times because you're supporting Donald Trump because they support Donald Trump. They do. You can pretend they don't. Everybody,
guess they
look
do.
at the big tax fraud story. Yeah, what did they do with that big tax fraud story?
Not much. Everyone
All right,
has forgotten it.
so the reality is it wasn't genius. It was stupid of Trump to send that because, in a normal world, the media would cover it. But, it's just another Trump lie. No, it's not another Trump lie. It's a Trump lie about an issue that voters say is one of the most important to them this year.
Yeah.
There's no polling on whether the voters care about the Caravan. By the way, the Trump voters will care about it, and nobody else will care because it's stupid.
Yeah. I mean, to the extent anybody else cares about it, it's because
So we should be saturated today with 2 stories.
Okay.
Right-wing terrorism.
Yes. Which is not a thing.
And do Republicans want to repeal pre-existing conditions protections?
Which is not a thing. Neither of them are things. I deny the existence of both of them. Yeah, that should be the coverage. That and coverage about how all of a sudden it's a mistake for Democrats to focus on health care. Somehow a theme.
I'll start lying. Why not? What's left?
I don't know. I can think of no reason. We're back from our break, and once again, this is the best part of having Armando on the phone, is having the show never stops. You'll never know what things we talk about in secret, except for the fact that we repeat them afterwards, because we're terrible at we're geniuses at keeping secrets. But yes, the discussion over the break. One of the things that's been bugging me today, on the way out to the break, I mentioned that there's a new rash of punditry out that, surprisingly enough, says the Democrats are doomed once again because of their monomaniacal focus on health care when they should be talking about the destruction of all of our democratic norms and our constitutional way of life, which is amazing because it feels to me like the first half of the midterms was punditry about how Democrats are just running against Trump. You can't just be against Trump. You've got to be for something. And then everybody said, but we're campaigning all the time about health care because that's all the polls show that is a top priority to real Americans and the people who are worried about their day-to-day existence. And healthcare, and we're pounding it to death. And today, I guess, and yesterday marks this weird departure among the punditry, which today's publications are all about. Democrats are doomed. They are failing to take advantage of the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to demolish the Republican Party for all time and have a complete political realignment. David Brooks now writing this one, believe it or not, by focusing monomaniacally on health care. They need to be talking about Trump and how they're going to undo Trumpism and confront it, which is the exact opposite. 6 months ago, enough with the Trump. You can't just be against Trump. You got to be for something. Okay, we're for healthcare. You can't just be for stuff. You got to talk about how you're anti-Trump. All right, man, I don't know.
I've urged it. I urged it during the Clinton campaign. The media is your enemy, Democrats. treat them the way Republicans do.
I knew it. I knew they were right when they said they were the enemy of the people, and we said they were wrong. But what we meant was that not only do we mean they were right, we were right about their being right before they were even right about it. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I know. That's the reaction people have been giving me. I said, no, you don't understand.
I don't. I mean, I do.
I'm not saying they're the enemy of the people. I'm saying they're the enemy of the Democratic Party.
I see. Well, the people are that too. But okay.
Well, some of the people, but it's not a general.
No, yeah, I see the distinction.
I'm
I just can't say I see the distinction.
A reflexive. Listen, this is a long time coming. You've known this. That from the days of Reed Irvine and Brent Bozell. Mm-hmm. The Republicans and the conservatives have beaten up on the media, boom, 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 for 30 years.
This is true.
It's all internalized now.
So it appears. Yeah,
Do you think the media helped George W. Bush in 2000 or helped Al Gore?
Yeah, okay, you have me there. I was going to sigh, but that would give away the game.
Right. So go. I will say that I thought the media was very kind to Barack Obama in 2008 versus John McCain, which was shocking to me because John McCain was their favorite. They weren't bad to McCain, but they were pretty nice to Obama. 2004, Kerry took it on the chin, but he really ran kind of a crappy campaign, so it's hard to say. 2012, again, Obama was very popular with the media, but 2016 was ridiculous.
It was.
And as people have been saying for the last few days, and I know the media is very defensive about it, they're rerunning their playbook in 2018 with Trump. I mean, there was, I don't know, explaining why Trump is rebounding stuff. Now, I'm pretty skeptical of these. I think people put too much stock in one. I'll give you the one rebound story is Trump's rebound, so to speak, in the NBC Wall Street Journal poll. And this is something people never get. Trump never fell below 41% in the NBC Wall Street Journal poll, ever.
Okay, yeah.
This isn't a poll that had him down at 36%. He's been in the 41 to 46 range in this poll for 2 years. So he's at 45. This is noise within who they get to respond rate. People don't understand about margins of error in polling. They say, oh, well, 2 points in a poll doesn't mean anything.
Right, okay.
And the pollster will tell you that, by the way.
Yes, but we don't want to hear it. You
can't take any of that to the bank unless you've taken 100 polls. The accuracy of a poll, the margin of error will go down if you take it in the same time frame you've taken 100 different polls. But one poll is a plus or minus 4%. That plus or minus 4% is for both numbers. In the case of a Trump poll, if Trump's at 45%, he could be at 41, he could be at 49. His disapprove is 54, it could be 58, or it could be 51. Margins of error is something absurd. And I've said this to people before. Let me tell you, not a single political poll would ever be entered as evidence in a litigation. Having done a lot of survey work in my career, I can tell you I would never, ever get anything close to a political poll in as evidence. They're not reliable. They're just things to look at. And they give you a general sense of things. And if you get 100 of them, they start. Why are presidential polls averages fairly, within 3 points, pretty accurate? Well, because we see 150 of them. The more you get, the more you average, the better, the more accuracy you'll get in it.
Yeah.
But, you get 2 polls out of North Dakota. There's a poll that came out that has Heitkamp down 16. I think she's probably dead in the water. But you get 2 polls, 116. 16 points is a big miss, so it's probably bad for Heitkamp, of course. But there's 1 or 2 polls. 3 polls came out in the Florida Senate race. And they have Nelson up 6, 6, and 5. I don't think he's up 6, 6, or 5. I think it's a toss-up. But there's 3. 3 is more than 1. So that actually would be more meaningful than the 1. At any rate, to get back to what's coming now, today I'm looking, and I just out of curiosity, I'm looking, switching back and forth in the two cable news channels. It's all about the bombing.
Okay.
The Caravan has been taken off the replay list.
Therefore, it is a false flag, but a genius false flag.
This is what I wonder. Is Trump going to say something?
I think so, and I think he's going to say that. He's going to say Democrats are doing this to take attention away from the Caravan.
I think he will say something just like that.
At which point I will be having a press conference to demand the recognition of the genius of having done that.
Exactly.
And don't you want a genius running this country instead of this moron that we have who's just sitting there being reactive to everything?
Write your tweet down and have it ready to go as soon as Trump does that.
Yeah, I'm gonna, I think I can do it.
The Obamas was in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
That's been confirmed.
Okay. I did see the reporting is that neither of the bombs to the Clintons or the Obamas made it to their homes. They were stopped, I guess, in the mail system somewhere along the way because there's regular monitoring of their mail. Not the case with Soros necessarily, although I didn't see yet news about whether that was delivered by the post office or somebody drove up to his house and stuck it in his mailbox. I'm not sure which.
Uh-oh. Here comes the counter narrative. Suspicious package addressed to White House also intercepted.
Oh, I knew it.
Aha.
He sent one to himself.
Both sides, baby.
Yeah, there you are. Although, I mean, you know what? Obviously, I mean, if I could just point out that every day ending in Y includes the interception of suspicious packages to the White House. It's cottage industry.
Exactly.
Suspicious packages to the White House.
This leak comes to try to blunt this issue.
Yes.
You know, tell me when they send a suspicious package to the Kochs, and then maybe we'll have something to talk about.
Yeah, I guess so.
In fact, they'll probably I think it's a false flag by the Republicans.
Yes, there you are.
Though I do think the suspicious package story is simply what you said, which is every day suspicious packages are intercepted. They'll have a white powder to Don Jr.
Right. Yeah. No kidding. There's white powder all over Don Jr., I'm sure.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. That he ordered it. You know what I mean? It'll be interesting to see how they try to say, look, this is bad, violence is bad, both sides. Watch, here it comes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I think that's probably, there's a pretty good chance that was the case anyway. But they may be playing that up. Listen,
did you see Homeland Security's tweets about the Caravan yesterday?
No.
It was complete nonsensical lying, gaslighting stuff. And of course, Sarah Sanders said Homeland Security says that they did the whole story. They've stopped many terrorists coming through the southern border as the defense of the argument that to defend Trump's Middle Eastern thing. And of course, Trump himself blew it all up. But he said, "No, nobody ever has facts." Whatever he said exactly.
Right. Oh, yeah. There's no evidence or no proof of anything.
There's no proof of anything
anywhere. Yeah. I love that one. That was rather, and that's part of what sort of inspired what was going on in my head this morning. There's no proof of anything, so you can just say anything. I mean, that's what he meant. I guess.
You accused the Kochs of financing ISIS, and I retweeted.
They did for the mass murder of Christians who won't acknowledge the truth of my false flag theory.
Prove Kagro wrong. Prove David wrong.
It's impossible. Not that I have no evidence of it, but that you can't find evidence to counter it. And
exactly.
If you do,
there's no proof
it's
of
false.
Anything.
So there.
There's no proof of anything. Send somebody down to the Koch's house and see.
Yes. It's true. You should send. Why aren't you doing that? And of course.
I think it's a credible charge.
The media goes ahead and actually will send people down like they did to the we're here. We're covering the Caravan on the ground. And you know what? There's no proof. And has it changed at all what Trump and everybody else has said about it? No. Of course not.
Of course not. And the media still plays this savvy game. It's pathetic. It's pathetic,
Yes.
and I know I'm a broken record. I'm boring on this, but it all centers on the New York Times and the fact that they hired the Politico's reporters to be their political reporters. So they don't know any other way but the Politico way.
Mm-hmm.
And the Politico way is bad at almost any time, but is catastrophic for the country when Trump is president.
Yes. All right. Well, okay. I have my tweet out there for you now. That's what I've been working on. When Trump announces later today that the bombs sent to the Obamas, the Clintons, and Soros are false flags planted by Democrats to distract from the Caravan, I will be holding a press conference to demand the recognition of the genius of this plot since it worked.
That's right. Maggie Haberman, where's the tweet, the savvy tweet about how smart that was of Democrats?
That was great. It worked beautifully.
I'm just commenting on the shrewdness of it. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do.
Absolutely. However, it was the right thing to do. And if you call me on that, I will just say, again, you misunderstand me. I was simply commenting on the shrewdness of it. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do. And they will say, we have you on video saying it was the right thing to do. And I will say, media has tape of everything. There's no proof of anything. I could show you anything out of context. But this isn't out of context. True, you know how this will go.
And that's what he'll say. But, the funny thing about the mock tweet that we just put in Maggie Haberman's brain.
It is not a mock.
She actually did say that in response to Matt Iglesias, who wrote a pretty good piece at Vox on how the media is just, doing Trump's bidding. And she said, well, that's not what I said. I just said it was smart politically. I didn't say it was right. It's like, shut up.
Shut
up. First of all, let's be honest. Whether it's smart politically or not is an opinion. You're not. Are you a reporter or a columnist?
Because the polling something. I don't know. Somebody went up a point.
There's no polling on it.
But there is, and somebody went up a point.
They have no basis for saying whether it's good or bad.
You have no proof that there's no polling on it.
I do not have proof of a negative. It's true.
You are. I think I put it pretty.
I think checkmate.
Yep, that's it. And I'd be on CNN telling you this right now, but CNN was just evacuated. CNN New York just evacuated. Police everywhere. Reports Eric Levinson.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
This is real?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. No. Yes, I mean
someone is actually reporting this, a serious person.
I don't know that Eric Levinson is a real person. He says he's a news writer for CNN Digital. He tweeted this. It's verified. He's a verified guy. And then there's a picture of a building with some police outside of it. So maybe, or the Caravan is in New York. That's what's happening. There's a picture of that.
Wow.
And I don't know. They're evacuated. Good point.
This is
tweeted
definitely
by
a Democratic false flag.
Oh,
Boy,
yeah.
you guys.
Nothing we would want to do more than
work
this.
by the Democrats
I
who are
love it. As a matter of fact,
this.
Kudos to Maggie Haberman for planting all these bombs. To be honest, I can't believe I didn't think of this first. Think of the career I could have been having. I don't know what she makes, but it's more than we're getting, and I should have planted the bombs. That's essentially it. Important point also, recently tweeted by Atrios, and this was before the CNN evacuation. Just saying, there's enhanced security barriers right now at the New York Times building in New York, or at least there were a few days ago, and he says, I'm sure no one in that building believes it's because of concerns about left-wing mobs. And that is a good point. They don't. But they'll report it.
They should be. Wait till I get there. Don't be scared of me.
Right.
I'll scream a few things at them. I'll hold up a placard.
Yeah, that's right.
That ought to show them.
This should hold up a placard that says, "This is a bomb." Because I don't know, why not?
That's actually clever.
You should be doing it. And here I am at your mailbox. False.
Exactly.
This is not. I'm sorry. This is a false flag bomb. Don't leave that part out.
Bomb. I am a right-wing terrorist. This is a bomb.
I have to declare myself. No, well, obviously. Only a great fool would say he was a right-wing terrorist when, in fact, he's part of a left-wing mob. But I cannot believe that you're a part of a left-wing mob because you are, in fact, a right-wing terrorist. Well, it's not easy to work itself out. So you need more hands. One side has to have.
Democrats after their misstep in organizing the Caravan just 2 weeks before the midterm are finally righting the ship, and now we're planting bombs
right
to left-wingers so that the Republicans are finally blamed.
And
we finally got it right.
Don't get upset about this, David Brooks. This is us listening to you. We're getting tough, and we're fighting Trumpism. Last week, we were organizing caravans and trying to give people health care. But you're right. So here I go. I've got one sign is going to say, this is a false flag bomb. And another sign that says, don't believe that sign. It's from the deep
Sass
state.
Had a great idea for us, too. We
Yeah?
could do fake videos of like Tucker Carlson planting the bomb at Chappaqua.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Right.
Let's do it. Good idea, Ben Sass. Let's get on it.
I should write a book. He should write a book. I should write another book.
Write a book about it. He actually did write a column about fake videos being made.
Oh, yeah.
Beware of fake videos.
People are worried about that, and I assume that one day that will become a major deal, and people tell me that the technology is here now, but so far we haven't had a very exciting news story about it. I think
we have the technology.
Chiefly
make it better, stronger, faster.
Right. I think the people who have that technology are chiefly concerned with making, I think, porn with it more than anything else. And as long as they stay occupied with that, I guess the rest of us are safe. But we could just fake up that video. Why not? We could try to, but Ben Sass ought to be happy. If you're right and the bomber is from Westchester, this is all community-based. So Ben Sass will be pleased with that. The community is coming together. I remember back in the day, we all used to plant bombs.
In Westchester are getting together.
Right. And the whole town used to come out and plant the same bomb on Friday nights at the football games. And that's what we're striving for. We're going to bring that back. I don't know. Like I said, I have a bunch of stories, but I don't see any real reason to report any of them to you because there's better ones in my head. And we'll just go with that.
The CNN covering the CNN story in New York evacuated. They had Jim Sciutto on the phone.
Yeah. From the Starbucks across the street.
I guess on the street, commenting about being evacuated. Fascinating, though. Someone could have grabbed a camera, right?
No. They put the bombs in the cameras.
Guess there wasn't time.
Genius, right? That's why I put the bombs in the cameras. So
they
couldn't do it. That's the excuse for. They're all on vacation in Hawaii, phoning in. We're evacuated. Help!
What a great ploy that would be.
It would be genius. They should do it. I don't know why they didn't.
When they bring the Mai Tai or whatever they drink in Hawaii to you on the beach, say, shh, quiet, in New York.
Right. Oh, yes, of course you are. And look, if you have the dedication to get up and go to the beach at, what time is it in Hawaii right now? At, I don't know. What time? How do they do their time?
It's very early.
5 o'clock in the morning?
6 hours ahead of us. So
6 hours
away.
Yeah,
the sun's not up. A little too early.
4 o'clock Mai Tai.
They screwed up the timing. It was supposed to happen in the afternoon.
Right. Well, but, it's prime beach time in Moscow right now. Aha. There's no beach, obviously, and there's no prime beach time anywhere ever in Moscow. However, maybe Odessa. They're on.
All right, so let's be clear. It's pretty clear that the person doing this is New York-based, Westchester-based most likely. And
wrong. It is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I don't know what gave him the idea to think that's so hatefully of the Clintons, the Obamas, and CNN. I don't know if some prominent figure has really been demonizing these people. I mean, who would have given them the idea to target those guys, people?
They probably heard it at a Proud Bombers rally,
right?
Which I'm inviting them to my next political event.
Yes, at your club.
Yeah.
You know what was hilarious about that Proud Boys story? There was that vandalism story the day before, and it was like, this is an outrage. And then, of course, wait a second, who are these Proud Boys? And you invited them in? It was pretty fun. It's been pretty funny in New York to see the coverage on that.
Yeah.
Well, in that, wait a second, you invited people who are basically violent thugs to come speak at your club, and you're upset about some vandalism. Okay, there's, look, I don't know where this is all heading, and theoretically we should be worried, right? I mean, this is crazy. This is a real escalation of it, and I guess I should take it that way. It's just, after all the nonsense from the media, I'm just inclined to do what you do, which is just say, this is, in essence, you've been humoring all this nonsense for years and years. What do you expect?
I don't know.
I mean, these are, if you think Trump is not capable of organizing stormtroopers, you just don't know the guy. I mean, he's morally capable. He may not be capable.
Oh, yeah,
in terms
right.
of
Okay,
competence.
sure. Like, I'll give you $5 to be a stormtrooper. Like, I don't think he's really capable himself.
Well, he did pay his actors to come to his events.
Yeah, he had somebody take care of paying. And you have no proof of that. And not only you have no proof of that. I mean, Donald Trump would say that you have no proof that I paid them. At which point we'd say, oh, that's, you have me there. You probably didn't pay them. You probably promised to pay them and didn't pay them, and they're angry with you. But I don't know. It's a hell of a time.
Even Fox News is covering these bomb threats. How about
from
that?
Indoors or outside? There's no bomb at their place.
They're not that far from each other in Midtown, and they have some wide camera angle of Times Square.
I see. Yeah.
And then they also have a picture of Bill Clinton and a picture of Barack Obama, and it says Secret Service suspicious packages sent to Clinton's former President Obama. The Fox News anchors are so mad and upset about this. You can just look at Bill Hemmer's face. He's like, what the hell? I'm supposed to be covering caravans.
Oh, I see. I gotcha. Let's see. There's also NYPD counterterrorism team outside of George Soros's offices in Manhattan.
Wow.
On the right, a Soros employee takes a call in front of the building, and I don't know. Now the question is that are they in the same building as CNN, and we're not sure who they were targeting, or are they targeting several buildings? And I like that, by the way. A Soros employee takes a call in front of the building. How do you know he's a Soros employee? He is wearing a fleece vest that says Soros on it, which makes me wonder about whether or not that's really true.
He's actually an employee of George Soros.
Yeah, this guy, he's got a paper sign on his back that says, "Kick me, I'm Soros." And I don't know why the Soros people wear those. They must like getting kicked, and so I don't know.
Here, I'm a human target. He's there. He's actually there to lure the bomber in.
Yes. Let's see. CNN. There's the CNN one. Athena with a good point. You're probably right about this. Athena saying, "Don't you think this is maybe a way to make the electorate nervous?" I'm sure that it is. Although I gather.
Oh, there they finally got a camera on Jim Scudo and Poppy Harlow. That's her name, I believe.
Are they in Starbucks?
They're doing their show now from the street.
Yeah, because you know what's a great place to stand if there's a bomb in the building? Right next to the building.
Right next to the building.
That's the place.
Ask
Rudy Giuliani. He'll tell you. You should put your security office in there.
Oh, my God. But speaking of Giuliani, did you see where he was this week?
No.
Hawaii? He was in Armenia at a Putin oligarch conference.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was in Armenia?
He got a nice... he was actually on a panel about something that he has no idea about.
Good.
But I'm sure they paid him. It's just crazy.
What was
the cops are moving him my way.
That seems wise. Wow.
Yeah, it's got a little crazy today. But I tell you what, we give the Genius Award today to the Democratic operative who did all this.
Yeah, good thought.
Just brilliant work, sir.
Okay.
I tip my hat to you.
Well, you have to. You have no choice.
Well,
so
Maggie
that's good.
Told me that this is the way to do it.
Yeah, I think we would have hit on it eventually. Is there anything else that could or should be evacuated. I mean, I imagine maybe polling places at some point, early voting.
Well, actually, I speculate about that if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Oh, maybe. All right. Well, that could be real. So we don't want to talk about that. Fake something else up.
I think it's worth considering. Anyway, we'll talk about it.
Apparently
or
so.
Not,
okay.
as you decide.
Yeah. I never heard of it before. No, we're not going to talk about it. Okay. We'll be back in 2 minutes. They'll give me a chance to accidentally drown myself with this water I have here. Thanks for clearing my throat. We'll be right back. Hi, it's me, David Waldman, your host for Kagro in the Morning, interrupting this little break to say thanks so much to all of you who are contributing supporters of Kagro in the Morning. Thousands of you are downloading the show each day, but fewer than 1 in 25 regular listeners are donating to help keep us on the air. For the money you'd spend on a single 3-minute iTunes song, we bring you 2 hours of great news and entertainment every day, 5 days a week. Patreon.com, Patreon.com makes it easy. You can find us there by searching KagroX or David Waldman or Kagro in the Morning or even Daily Coast Radio in their search box, and you'll be right where you need to be to make easy, recurring monthly contributions to support our show. Once again, thanks so much for your support.
Central Park looks nice, though.
Welcome back to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. At least Central Park looks nice. That's good. I'm bombing Central Park.
The fall colors are coming in.
Those are bombs.
Those are bombs.
They
blew up the plate. They blew up the trees.
That's right. And there's
nice
our tree-shaped bombs to lure you in. Don't go. I don't know what else to say here.
What to say?
Everything's been evacuated.
What to say is the following.
Yes.
There's a real news story about right-wing terrorism going on as we speak.
It is fake. I'm outraged. I demand that it be retracted.
So far, thank God,
ago.
Nobody's been hurt. No bomb. No device has gone off. Everything's been intercepted. There was a device sent to the home of Bill and Hillary Clinton in Chappaqua, New York, in Upper Westchester. Mm-hmm. There was a bomb device sent to George Soros in the same geographic area. There was a bomb sent to the home of Barack and Michelle Obama in Washington, D.C. And there was a suspicious package delivered to the building where CNN broadcast in New York City on Columbus Circle in Manhattan. It's a serious story about right-wing terrorism. It also is a commentary on what Donald Trump has wrought and what the media, in its fecklessness, has allowed to happen and allowed to develop. What it means politically remains to be seen, but certainly we're not talking about caravans right now. That's something.
Yeah.
There was a topic that I thought was worth pursuing, but you felt maybe we shouldn't pursue, and that it might, I assume this was your thought process, depress people from voting. But what happens if, in fact, you start seeing suspicious devices delivered to polling places in Democratic areas?
Yes. What if the suspicious devices are the voting machines that they send you? So
those are suspicious, but I don't think they're going to attack us.
All right.
I don't think.
Well, so says you, not the Russians.
So say I. No, there's no proof of anything.
Right.
But
the Russians are doing it, and each one of them has a nuclear weapon in it, which is a good thing because we're ending the treaty or whatever. So all news stories are connected. Certainly could happen, and would be in keeping with everything else that's going on. Why wouldn't you start to see those show up there? Another good reason to either vote by mail or vote early, or vote absentee, what have you.
Right. Vote by mail. See, that's the answer to all these threats.
Yes.
There should be a federal law requiring vote by mail.
But on the other hand, how are all these packages, not getting where they're going? And the answer is the mail. So it's clearly the terrorists are the mail workers.
Be bobs in the
postal
votes.
workers. Right. That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty serious threat, and I don't know what else to say other than, hell, anything could happen.
There's a terrorist on the loose. Clearly, no one's been arrested who's doing these things. And, as I said, I'm not Sherlock Holmes, but, 2 in Westchester, 1 in Manhattan. I'm beginning to think the guy is located in the New York City area.
And lazy. So
and lazy. I mean, it's easy. It's not easy to do it. But I do want to report, because I think it's an important part of the political story. All the cable news channels, all 3, including Fox, are covering the bombing stories.
Well, there you have it. So there's at least that genius part is holding. It is possible that we might become distracted by Andrew Gillum getting Hamilton tickets.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I saw that story.
I just...
And let's put the honest part first. He shouldn't have taken free tickets from anybody. And he shouldn't have had someone cover some of his expenses on his trip to Costa Rica. Those things happened. He shouldn't have done them as a general matter. I do not think there's any ethical violation, and it clearly isn't a legal violation. Florida has incredibly lax ethical standards for its politicians.
Phew.
Just so you know, I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to get him on anything. I don't know what the FBI undercover guy thinks he was doing, but I guess the FBI was giving away Hamilton tickets and said, "Why not me?"
I guess I didn't.
And it sounds like it was an attempt to entrap a little bit, but remember the McDonald case.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay because there was no quo.
Yes, unless 5 members of the Supreme Court say either who cares about quos or there was one.
We don't need quos when it involves a black guy.
Yeah, basically.
Could be the new rule.
That could be the rule, and it would be unpopular, but there you would have it. Sorry. That's it's rule of law, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what it says.
I couldn't believe it when I first saw that. I was like, is this a joke? The FBI, an FBI agent gave him Hamilton tickets? And that's, wow. What did they think they were uncovering?
Well, I think the thought process was he played some type of lobbyist or something, and he thought he would get them on a quid pro quo. And at some point he's setting them up, and then says, I'll give you $10,000 if you give me this contract, because that's, even the Supreme Court sees that as bribery. And I don't think that happened. I think the sting operation fell apart. I'd have to remember Abscam if there was actually a quo. If you remember, if you're not old enough to remember Abscam, it involved FBI undercover operation to nail a bunch of congressmen by giving them fake Saudis.
Tell us, I was just going to say, now, how did they dress up? They pretended to be
Saudis.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, and if you ever saw the Donnie Brasco movie, this was a peripheral start of the story. They were both using the same yacht for the pretend undercover sting operation. And there was a conflict today we're doing the Abscam thing today using this yacht. You'll have to reschedule your Donnie Brasco sting for another day.
Sorry. Don't have enough yachts to go around.
Sure, the Saudis took precedence even then.
Yeah.
But again, I don't remember if there were votes given in exchange, because we're talking about congressmen. What can congressmen do? They can't give contracts. They can only give votes.
Right? Yeah.
I'm not sure that the Abscam guys would be guilty now after the McDonald ruling.
That's an interesting thought.
Think about it. I think they were bribed, but they didn't actually give anything in return for the bribe. Ergo, that's okay.
I guess now that's fine. We just didn't know then. See, you were pre-wrong about it, everybody.
Right? Where do they go to get their reputations back, as Ray Donovan said?
Many of them are dead.
So. They're all dead.
Oh,
I think. Well, most of them must be, because it was 50 years ago.
Was it?
78. How long is that? 32 and 18, 50 years ago.
What? Outrageous.
I know. The time flies when you're.
Are you sure?
When you're
70,
getting bribed.
Not 68. 68 would be 50 years ago. So 40 years
then I'm
ago.
40 years
totally
ago.
different
32
story.
and 8, but isn't 22 and 18?
40 is the new 50.
40? No. Okay. That could be.
You have that backwards. Yes.
So here we are with this story, and it'll be, again, it buried the other story that I wanted covered. But
which was that?
The tweet about pre-existing conditions from Trump.
Oh, right.
Honestly, that's a big issue in the election. It's an actual, real, honest-to-goodness issue. McConnell says he's going to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Trump always says he's going to repeal the Affordable Care Act.
Yes.
They're going to do entitlement reform, and you know what that means, cutting Medicare and Social Security.
Right.
Those are actually real issues.
Yes.
They're not getting much coverage from the media, which likes Caravan stories better. And, you're not going to apparently knock it out with this pre-existing conditions thing out there. But a bomb threat, again, Democratic operative, you get the Haberman genius designation for the day. Good job.
Yeah.
You found a way to get the Caravan story out.
The optics have to prevail here. If Chuck Todd isn't saying this was a great play, then they're full of it. And you know what? They're full of it because it'll be horrible instead. But
Jesus.
The pre-existing conditions thing is just another example of look, do people say they want pre-existing conditions protected? All right, then we're for protecting pre-existing conditions. What about all the things that you did? We didn't do them. Yes, you did. Here's proof. No, there's no proof of anything.
No, I mean, the funny thing, of course, is you take Trump's tweet, and it's just a lie through and through. But it's not just the lie about what Republicans are doing. It says Democrats want to repeal protections for He goes even further.
Right, sure. Just say all that, like he's been saying about the Caravan and everything else. That Democrats want violent criminals to come to this country. Democrats, what he said the other day, the Democrats are the party of crime. He actually said at one of his rallies.
Said too, though, interestingly. The never Trumper, David Frump.
Says we're the party of crime?
Yes.
Oh, good. All right.
That's the problem with Democrats is they don't understand that people want to prevent crime. And we're being pro-crime is a bad position to be.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
That's
basically what he said. And John Roush seconded it. So.
Oh, good. That seems reasonable. I love crime. How about you? I mean, I might as well say it now as it's true.
That's crime. I'm the Joker.
That's right. I am. And if that's a bad thing to you, then I'm not.
I am against crime.
Right, well, who are you?
I'm for crime by Trump, okay?
Oh, yeah. That kind of crime is
Let me thread that needle. I am anti-crime unless it's crime by the Trump crime family.
Right.
In which case I'm pro-crime.
If at some point you should become outraged by Trump's crime, I am against that.
Can I tell you, it reminded me of something that one of my mini Twitter fights, but one I had with Karen Tumulty last night. She ran this piece quoting Henry Waxman, and one thing stuck out of me that really bothered me was Waxman's like, well, you shouldn't be subpoenaing the president's tax returns without a predicate. Without a predicate.
Did you? All right. Yes.
It's like, do you? What? First of all, it's obscene that we have to subpoena the president's tax returns in the modern history. We've never had to do it. You know why? Because every other president has released his tax returns publicly, voluntarily.
Yes. Well, it's his prerogative to fight that one out with the press and say, fine, tar me as an evasive liar. Go ahead. And he did, and then he won.
But if the House of Representatives subpoenas the president's tax returns and his financial records because there are many indicia that the president is receiving funding improperly and in violation of the Constitution, the Emoluments Clause, which you may or may not remember from the first day we talked about it. He has been getting money from Saudi Arabia, famously millions of dollars. It saved his bottom line last year when they rented out like 5 floors of his hotels in New York City and paid him $50 million.
Yeah. Okay. So, therefore, there's no predicate. There's no proof that that's a predicate.
There's no proof of anything,
right.
Says Henry Waxman. Henry Waxman.
Yeah.
I would like to sit Henry Waxman down and say, did you actually say this? Are you this stupid? How could you possibly say that, Henry Waxman? And Henry Waxman was an effective oversight congressman. He did a very good job overseeing not just the administration, but different things.
No.
How could he possibly say? I don't understand it. And I got into a tiff with Tumblety, who's nice generally to me, but she wasn't very happy with me.
Henry Waxman's no good. And it's
he's
a mistake.
Obviously very good. I mean,
he's not. Henry Waxman knows nothing, and I'll tell you why he knows nothing. Do you know that in the middle of, you remember how I had to go crazy telling everybody about just the existence of contempt procedure, inherent contempt.
Oh, that's true.
Do you know that in the middle of all that, Henry Waxman said, "What kind of contempt?" He was 100% completely ignorant of the existence of which is the very basis of subpoena power for the Congress from day one, from the founding. That cannot exist without the presume. It's like, okay, now maybe it's like theoretical physics. I didn't know. I never seen a neutrino. How do you know there's no proof? Yes, there is. It's theoretical proof. It has to be the case. There has to be inherent contempt in order for there to be.
What's your constitutional power for subpoenaing? Is what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole point is that if you don't inherently have the power to compel this kind of compliance, then there's no subpoena power, period. There never was. You say that there is, and there isn't if you are not inherently empowered to demand these things from the rest of the government. But the point is that not even that necessarily. You don't have to be a theoretical physicist to figure this out. It's written procedure. It exists. And if you're the chairman of the Government Oversight Committee, by God,
you should know that.
Read a book.
You make a very good point. Maybe
so
he's not as good as I was.
He's as good as standard procedure can get. If it's in the normal operations manual, I read that. You're that good. Are you good enough to think about, well, what if something goes wrong with this? What if somebody says no? Well, the standard procedure book says you do this and you do that, and then eventually it becomes a constitutional crisis, and the other side gives in, and they always send the documents. They always do. They always have. They always will. No need to read the Constitution.
When we think about it, though, we think of the fact that the Attorney General and the District generally enforces congressional subpoenas unless they decide they're not going to.
Right.
Particularly when it's the executive branch, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember the discussion to some degree,
yeah.
And I remember that was the step. And this was during the Bush administration, and he had fired the attorney generals, and there was real doubt. And I forget how it all turned out. You'd have to refresh my memory on what happened. But that's when the inherent contempt argument came up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we had been through the thing, the whole charade a number of times in the past, and a reminder again that the then most recent example, the example then most recently in memory anyway, was Neil Gorsuch's mom, Ann Gorsuch, not refusing to turn over documentation from the EPA to Congressional Oversight Committee, and the story went, the clash back and forth, constitutional crisis, yada, yada. And eventually the executive branch yielded in some fashion and said, without acknowledging that you have the power to demand X, Y, and Z, we'll give you X and Y in exchange for you not pressing the point about being entitled to Z. And everybody said, great. And everybody came to an agreement that Ann Gorsuch was probably corrupt, and she walked away from the EPA, and then nothing happened, and her son was on the Supreme Court. And Henry Waxman moved from junior backbencher to chairman without having learned a goddamn thing about that, and then faced exactly the same situation again and said, I guess we're going to have to invent the wheel. And
you're right. Okay.
And that's what happened. And then he started working on the wheel, and they said, nah, it's already done. And he said, you're stupid bloggers. You're always trying to tell us what to do, and you don't know how this thing works. Well, this is how it works. You're out of your mind. This is a CRS report, Henry. Oh. What's it say now? Huh. I should read this thing. And so he did.
Maybe you should.
And, and then, you can change the rules in the Senate. Nah, you stupid blogger, you don't understand how that works. Read this. Oh, yeah, hey. Well, maybe we should. Yeah, you should, Harry Reid.
Yes. But, it's funny. Now we're full circle because the Henry Waxman now is a pundit or a lobbyist or whatever the hell Henry Waxman is these days. And I don't know what he is. Right. I assume he lives in Washington because how else did Karen Tully get to interview him?
Right.
And I assume I assume he works at some law firm and he's doing lobbying because that's what these guys do, right?
I guess
even Henry Waxman.
Yes, I forgot entirely that he was not even in Congress anymore. But
the 2015 was.
You're right.
I forget who replaced him, but he after 30-something years, he'd been in Congress for a long time. The Hatch-Waxman amendments.
Ted Lieu.
Yeah, Ted Lieu. That's what it was. That was the fight. He was around when the Hatch-Waxman amendments were passed.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's something, if you do anything with the FDA and pharmaceuticals, as I do, that was in 1984. So that's how long he was a congressman.
Yes, and he is now, you'll never believe it, chairman at Waxman Strategies. So, at least he's his own boss.
And his strategy is to roll over on the tax returns.
I guess so. He was, as perhaps tough a cookie as standard procedure could yield for you. He was just unimaginative and or afraid to go above and beyond what was in the standard playbook and believed that there was no such thing and that voters wouldn't stand for it and yada, yada. And then eventually, he left.
It's an interesting point you make there that this is a new world in many ways.
Yes.
There are no norms. The media has failed to adapt. Will our Democratic legislators learn to adapt? God willing, and everything going as we expect. Hopefully, we will have a Democratic House. We hope. And there's a 6 in 7 chance of that, according to 538.
Mm-hmm.
So, who are our chairmen? Does Adam Schiff know what to do? Because that's going to be the big subpoena power issue.
Yeah, he doesn't, is my suspicion.
My suspicion is he doesn't either.
Yeah.
Though I will tell you one thing. He said something yesterday that you should appreciate, that one of the focuses on a reopened Russia investigation on him will be Trump's money ties to Russia, the money laundering operation.
I thought I saw something from him the other day that suggested that, by the way, when we take back the House, I'm not going to be doing that stuff.
Well, at least on TV last night, he was saying he was.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see
if
I can find...
So maybe someone got to him. By the way, if you're going to check the money laundering, you're going to have to see his tax returns.
Yes. Well, yeah, very likely, although...
David Fairholt yesterday, did you see him on Twitter yesterday? I don't know what he was going through, but some information from 2004 and 2005, and then there was some company that Don Jr. ran that Trump owes $50 million to, and, it's all kinds of crazy nonsense.
Yeah, well, that probably should be checked out, but we'll see whether or not that does or doesn't happen. I'm trying to scroll back and see if I can find the
Fairholt?
Not the Fairholt, but Schiff. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that one.
Schiff has never, I don't think, ever run a committee at all. He's always been the gadfly ranking member on the other side.
Okay.
Remember, for the last 8 years, the Republicans have held the House of Representatives. And the way the House of Representatives works, it's, the minorities run roughshod over. There never even was a nod to comedy as there was once in the Senate. Anyway, are you ready to go?
Well, yeah, I found this here in the few minutes we have left. I'm looking at Natasha Bertrand's October 18th piece in The Atlantic. The Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee won't restart a full-on Russia probe. If the Democrats take back the House in November, Congressman Adam Schiff says he'll try to close a hyper-partisan divide on the House Intelligence Committee. So we have that, and maybe I'm misunderstanding the headline, or she's misunderstanding what he had to say, and maybe he's clarified or changed his mind. It's just floating out there. I'll share it with you. We can all read it off the air and
we got to
analyze
tell him
it.
to stop it.
Yes. Well, hopefully someone has told him that, and maybe he read David Brooks and took his advice. So, yeah, I don't know. Well, tomorrow, perhaps discuss a little bit more about this, but I had intended to spend the day on, or at least a good part of it, on what Greg covered earlier, reading the Washington Post piece in the service of whim, and the Mother Jones piece, fake tax cut now embellished with fake details. But events outpaced me, and
I think somewhere down the line you need to go through what Congress can do. I think it's very worth revisiting. We haven't been there for 8 years, so
no. So we'll have that'll be probably we'll say it's the premise of tomorrow's show, but something else will take precedence, I'm sure. But I was struck by
it's somewhere down the line. We have time.
Yeah, I was struck yesterday by the extent to which I mentioned in yesterday's show that I was astonished that Trump could come out and drop this stupid bombshell. Oh, I'm looking at a major tax cut for the middle class, probably in the next couple of days before November. And then everybody realized that's impossible. And the normalizing press said, oh, he must mean not before November, but rather after November. And then
he can't do that either.
No, well, he can't. But if it's going to happen at all, or anybody's going to fail at trying to do it, it's going to happen after November. And so all the headlines were, Trump explains that how after the election they're going to try and do this. And only one or two journalists I could find saying, no, he said before November. Like before November 1st.
He had just talked to Kevin Brady about it.
Yeah, and so the most extraordinary thing was that it covered in the in service of whim thing, the machinery such as it is clicks into place, and he basically goes back to the office, or somebody back there says, oh my God, the boss just said there was going to be a major tax cut in the next 10 days. Go fake up paperwork so that it looks like there's going to be a major tax cut in 10 days. But it's not. It's impossible. I know that. Just fake it up. And I said it's the equivalent of using the power of the presidency to change Wikipedia articles. Like you get out there and say, I'm the first president of the United States. People thought I was the 45th, but I'm the first. And everybody says, that's stupid. Everybody knows George Washington was the first president of the United States. And suddenly then we're finding, oh, look at this. An IP address from the White House has changed the Wikipedia article on both George Washington and Donald Trump. And although it would seem to be a physical impossibility, here it is. In 1789, he's inaugurated as president of the United States. It's really extraordinary. He's not that old, which is really the hardest part to believe. And like everybody says, that's obviously somebody changed Wikipedia. It says right here the IP address was from the White House. Yeah, but either that's not true or not important, or you have to acknowledge the genius of it. And there we are, acknowledging the genius of it.
I choose the latter.
All he's done, it is not genius to misstate everything, to lie, to make up your own facts, and then dispatch a team from the White House to use the power of the presidency to change the collective Wikipedia brain on us so that it looks like there really was a plan for a tax cut. That's not genius in any way, shape, or form. And I'm tired of people trying to tell me that that's the case. And I'm an out-of-touch elite because I'm insisting on book learning. You know?
How about just telling the truth?
Yeah, but no, it's genius because it's distracting from something else. Okay, I understand that play. So then I start my morning the way I started it, and not one person has written an article on what a genius I am for doing it yet. So I'm confused. It must be a hair thing. I don't know.
Hopefully Joe comes back next week because I know she's
because this show was crap. That's why. Okay. Thanks very much, Armando. I don't think I could survive this without an outlet like this. Thanks for coming by. It's time now to hand the microphone over to Justice Putnam, who likewise would like to, why not, make up the news. I could tell you what he says he's going to have, but what's the point of that? All right. Democratic candidate for governor in Florida, Andrew Gillum, talks about the racism he's encountered at the hands of DeSantis and his supporters, much more important than Hamilton tickets. The Department of Agriculture getting in the private prison industrial complex business. They're going to grow their own prisons, I guess. The Maine union representing the Border Patrol just endorsed a white nationalist film after a private screening. That's the best way to endorse a film, I say. And more after this.
From Daily Kos Radio on networksradio.com. You have been listening to the Kagro in the Morning Show
with David Waldman.
Told you there's more. Trump picked the former Monsanto executive to lead the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. No one can believe that one. And Amazon pitched ICE of all people, to buy its facial recognition surveillance technology. And in response to the Trump administration efforts to open up federal waters, Oregon moves to ban offshore drilling.